obtained her baccalaureate and master's degree, both in special education in the University of the Philippines. She has completed academic units in the PhD Educational Psychology in UP as well, and will be pursuing PhD in Curriculum Studies in the near future.
She is a resident expert of Southeast Asian Ministers Education Organization Regional Center for Special Educational Needs, where she is a paper presenter and a reviewer.
She is also a faculty member of the New Era University in the Integrated School and formerly of the College of Education. Currently, she is teaching grades 3 to 5.
She is the coordinator for curriculum and instruction in the NEUIS. She was awarded NEUIS Teacher of the Year for the academic year 2021-2022.
She is a section editor and writer for the Christian Family Organizations magazine. She was a producer and writer for a children's show at Net25 Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, where she won Best Children's Show and Best Children's Show Host.
She has also written multiple storybooks broadcasting, and she is awaiting the publication of her storybooks textbook through the NEU publication.
She is an advocate, resource speaker for smart media consumption and media literacy.
Please welcome our speaker, Teacher Sally M. Lopez.
Let us all give her a round of applause.
So basically, for today, we are going to talk about creating short stories for children. The basics of short stories, just an introduction. The basic of writing a short story is it's very basic. It's everything, all the elements of a short story when you write for adults can also be part of when you write for children. The only thing is, when we're writing for children, we have to make sure that we're thinking like children. We cannot be thinking like an adult writing for a child. It only not just for short stories, but also even when you are making a children's show or any children's content for that matter. So basically, when you write for children, you have to think like children because you would have a hard time if you're thinking like an adult and then you're writing for children. Or you're when you're teaching also, when you're teaching, you also have to figure out, wait, you have to think first, am I speaking like a child or am I speaking like an adult? So basically that's the first thing. We have to make sure that we have our perspectives right. So our the right perspective is when you want to do something for children, you have to observe them and you have to be like them. Not like them like yung sinasabi po nating isip bata, but like them as in you have to make sure that you think in their perspective. That's the first thing because that's what we are supposed to figure out first. So with that, let's move on to the objective. The objective of this seminar is participants will gain knowledge in producing short stories for children that makes use of imagery, characterization, and elements of plot development. So basically, what we are going to do is, next slide please. Our outline would be, number one, we will review the different story elements first. I hope that everyone is already familiar with the story elements. If not, we will review them. This is something that we have taught even grade 1 students. Then the second thing that we're going to talk about is we will talk about starting your story. How do you really write a story for children? The third part would be let's think about what to consider when writing for children. Just like what I said, when you're writing stories, it's the same. They have the same elements, they have the same things that you have to think about. But what do you really consider when the audience are particularly children? Yung isa, yung One Tamad, Kwentong Bayan. Kumbaga, ito'y kwento na pinagpasapasahan na ng mga ninuno natin hanggang sa atin. Pero may matututunan tayo na wag tatamad-tamad. Kasi kapag hinihintay mo lang ang biyaya, walang darating. Di ba walang darating sa yung kahit na anong bagay na maganda kung hinihintay mo lang ang biyaya at wala kang ginagawa. So ngayon, yung pangalawa, yung Kuneho at Pagong ay halimbawa ng isang pabula o fable. Ang fable ay a fable is a story that makes use of animals as characters, but particularly they have particular traits. So that's something that that's one of the literature That's one of the literary kinds of literature that we can find for children. Merong fable, tulad nun. Meron din po tayong ginagamit na kwentong bayan. Meron ding epic. Meron pong iba't ibang mga kwento. So particularly, anong pinagkapareho nila kahit magkaiba yung kanilang character? Pareho tayong may matututunan tayong values, which that in essence is what children's stories is all about. Children's stories are about the lessons that we should learn. So that is something that we should also incorporate when we are making a story for children. So moving on, let's review the different story elements first. Here are the following elements. Next slide, please. Yan po. So the story elements, we have the character, the setting, the theme, the plot, the conflict, and the resolution. These are very basic. Any story that you may read has all these elements. So what is character? So let's review the different story elements. Next. So let's start with character. Next slide, please. A character may be a person who acts the plot of a short story or other literary works. Characters may be a protagonist or an antagonist. They may also be primary or secondary ones that push the story forward. Basically, character answers the question, who is the story all about, or who are the story? Who are the characters in the story? So basically, it answers the question who. So if you are going to think of, maybe for now, while we're discussing the story elements, you can think of a story that is already familiar to you and try to break down the different story elements from this kind of story. So that's the first story element, character. The next story element is the setting. The setting answers the question, where does the story take place? Setting does not just refer to physical location, but also to the time when the story happened. Basically, it does not just answer the question where, it also answers the question when. Sometimes you may need to explain in detail the setting. There are particular stories that if the description of the setting is very vivid, it gives you a sense of how it looks like. Like, for example, a story may be about a child who goes to the forest, and the author made sure that the readers know how the forest looks like. For example, the author may say, the forest, let's say, Mia, the small girl, got lost in the forest, and she was afraid of all the sounds that she has been hearing. So she has heard the woos of the owls. And maybe you are going to use different kinds of figurative language as well. So basically, setting can be a vivid description of where the story happens. It can also be a description of when. Maybe you want the story to be not at the present time, but it can be at the maybe in the future. So how do you as the author make sure that the setting is in the future? So you have to make sure of words, make use of words that will be relatable to your audience, in the sense that you are explaining in detail what this particular story looks like or where does this story take place. Next, we also have, but sometimes authors do not give vivid descriptions. Instead, they may also just give clues. Well, that means you just give clues. You don't really tell them na at the end of the story, eventually, the readers will just find out this story happened in one particular apartment. But while the author was discussing something, you would see when you're reading the story, it's as if the story was happened in many settings or many places. However, at the end of the story, it is part of the story's plot wherein the story did not happen in one place, only it didn't happen in particular or various places. Instead, it just happened in one place. Okay? So basically, we make use of words that spark imagination. Okay po, we make use of words in order for you to relay your message or your setting to your audience. The next story element would be plot. The plot answers The plot answers the question, what happens in the story? The plot is the beginning, the middle, and ending events. If you have started as a young child writing a story, the first thing that you have to remember, a story has just three parts: beginning, middle, ending. Beginning, usually we just say one day, or in other stories that we may be familiar with, it usually starts with, once upon a time, there lived a princess in a faraway place. Basically, it gives you also sense of where does a story begin and what happens in the story. Some stories may just use the terms then, next, after. So that's particularly the middle of the story. At the end of the story, at the ending of the story, there might be some parts that the authors might use. There might be some modifiers or some words that the authors may use in terms of, so that he would be able to say that it's already the ending of the story. Again, the beginning, the middle, and the ending events of a story, it contains the introduction. Basically, the introduction are the typographical error. Characters and setting. Usually in the introduction, these are introduced. And then we have the rising action, the conflict, the climax, the falling action, and the resolution, which we will also discuss later. This may also be called the story arc or the storyline. So again, that is plot. Next slide, please. We have the theme. The next story element is theme. What does theme answer? It answers the questions: what is the message of the story? What is the story mainly about? And what do you want readers to take away from the story? Theme is the main idea of a story. Like, let's say someone's going to ask you, what did you read? Ah, I read this book. And what is it all about? If you are going to just say one sentence about what the story is all about, then you can just say that is already the theme. Like, let's say you read a story about two children who are friends. So basically the theme is about friendship. Or maybe the theme is about two people who is in a basketball team, but maybe they are competing for one another. So that maybe the theme might be rivalry. So basically, theme is the main idea. It can also be what readers can learn from this particular story. It can be a moral or a lesson that you want readers to learn, or may also be an idea or message that you want as an author learn or convey to your readers. Next, conflict. Conflict is what is the problem of the main character. This is basically what makes the story interesting. If a story does not have a very good conflict or it doesn't have conflict at all, the story will be bland. The story might not be interesting. So what makes stories interesting? It is the fact that it has a very good conflict. Conflict usually in children's stories should be something that's relatable. Okay? It should be relatable. It should be something that that the children also experiences. So for example, when you're going to make a story during the pandemic, you have to be able to relate to the experiences of the children. Most conflicts or most stories have whose conflict is related to the pandemic would usually someone will get sick, someone is not attending school anymore, or maybe someone's father or mother passed away. That can already be the conflict of the whole story because it's something that's relatable, especially that children nowadays have already experienced those particular topics. So, conflict refers to the main problem, the challenges of the main character, the issue that the lead character or characters face. Basically, this is what they have to figure out. Ito yung mga kailangan nilang malampasan doon sa kwento na iyon. Yun yung conflict. Next, in relation to conflict, we have the different types of conflict. First off, we have person versus person. Maybe you can think of a story that is related to person versus person. Pwedeng yung dalawang magkaibigan, Isa, pareho silang honor student. Yung isa gusto niyang pareho din sila na gusto nilang maging valedictorian. So yung buong kwento, person versus person. Dalawang main character na meron silang pinaglalabanan doon sa kwento. So it's person versus person. Next would be person versus self. Maaaring yung estudyante gusto niyang maging valedictorian. Kaya lang, meron siyang mga conflict sa sarili niya. Minsan, lagi siyang natatalo ng ability niya na maging, pag nag-fail siya, every time the student fails, that the student becomes stressed or the student becomes bothered. So because of the inner characteristics, that can already be the conflict of your story. Because it's person versus self. He's not competing towards another person, he's just competing towards himself. Next, we have person versus society. Most likely, let's use the same example. The child wants to become a valedictorian, and the child wants to be very good at studying. However, the child met a group of friends whom he really likes. This group of friends he really likes this group of friends. Pare-pareho sila ng interes, pare-pareho sila ng mga gusto nilang ginagawa, pero maaaring hindi magandang impluwensya yung grupo na yun. So ano magiging conflict doon? Ang conflict doon, sasamahan pa ba niya yung mga kaibigan niya? At magpapatuloy siya na ganun ang mangyayari sa kanya despite the fact na baka hindi na siya makapag-aral o hihiwalayan niya yung grupo niya. So that can be person versus society. Person versus nature can be, let's say, it can be during the time of Yolanda, there were a lot of stories that came out based on the typhoon. So this can be a person versus nature story. So nature can be different kinds of nature, different kinds of disasters. It can be earthquakes. It can also be flood. It can be typhoon. It can be the aftermath of these disasters. So person versus nature, or it can also be. I think one of the stories that would be very familiar to you is a story about a man who survived a shipwreck, but the man went to an island. And the man has to survive living in that particular island. And that is what we call person versus nature. Next, lastly, under common types of conflict would be person versus technology. Technology can be not this time, before there was a series of books that came out that were the characters were based on robots or the technology of creating robots. So I think that's an author that made a series of books only about robots. So that can be person versus technology. With us, I think it's also safe to say that we can talk about gadgets. If maybe the use of gadgets is the excessive use of gadgets, which is a very popular theme for children's storybooks nowadays, can also be something that you can make use of. And that can be under person versus technology. Like most likely, maybe we can make use of artificial intelligence. If you can make use of artificial intelligence in a story, you are already introducing the topic of artificial intelligence, and then you also have you can make use of that particular type of conflict, person versus technology. Next slide. Of course, we have conflict, and then now we have resolution. If there's a problem, there is always a solution. Now, what are the questions that resolution answers? Here are the questions. How is the conflict or problem solved? What does the main character do in order to overcome the conflict? Basically, meron tayong tinatawag na hero stories. Ang hero stories, kumbaga, hindi siya kailangang hero. Yung hero na alam natin o alam ng bata. Yung hero stories, particularly, merong isang bida, tapos nalalampasan niya yung mga pagsubok niya doon sa kwentong yun. So basically, meron kang central hero doon sa kwento na yun. So yung lahat ng pinagdaanan niya para malampasan lahat ng mga problema niya, yun ay ang resolution. At paano ba niya nasolusyonan yung mga problema niya sa kwento? The resolution leads to the ending of the story. This may present ways on how the main character may become triumphant in the end. Now, we have to understand we're writing for children. We're not really writing for adults. Sa adults, yung kwento nyo, pwedeng parang cliffhanger. Parang, di ba yung kwento pwedeng maputol, hindi mo alam may ending ba o wala. Di mo alam anong nangyari doon sa hero o doon sa bida ng kwento mo. Pag gumagawa ka ng para sa bata, lalo na kung masyadong bata yung audience, target audience, dapat tapusin mo yung kwento. Kasi maaari na kapag ginawa mong cliffhanger ang kwento, sa target audience mo, ang mangyayari, maaaring may mga tanong na mas magiging curious yung bata, hindi niya alam anong nangyari doon. Lalo na kung nagtuturo ka ng particular na values doon sa bata. So, meron namang mga kwento na maaaring hindi mo tapusin agad. Walang resolution. Pero, ang sinasabi sa amin nung kahit makakilala kong mga sumusulat para ng children's books, kailangan daw tapusin mo siya. Hindi siya dapat, unless gumagawa ka ng chapter book. Kasi adventure nung tao eh. Pero kahit daw adventure yun, dapat matapos siya, meron siyang solusyon pagkatapos ng isang chapter or yung isang buong libro na yun. Kasi kung nagtuturo tayo, kailangan maliwanag dun sa bata ano ang tinuturo natin. Susunod po, let's move on to the next part of our lecture. Let's start writing the story. This is very simple. There are just 3 things that you have to remember. Purpose of the story, the character. So we're going to talk about description of the character, motive, action, and objective, which is related also to the character. And last, we'll talk 3-act story structure. So how are we going to organize all our thoughts and make it into a children's story? So we will make use of the 3-act story structure. Most likely, if you are from the College of Communication, you might be already familiar with the 3-act structure when you're making a screenplay or you're making a story. This is also based on that particular framework. So let's move on to purpose of the story. Purpose of the story means these are the questions that you have to answer. Why are you writing this story? Is it to entertain? Is it to inform? Is it to narrate experiences? Or is it to educate? As a writer for children's stories, you have to make sure that you are clear with your intentions when writing the story. You cannot have gusto kong magsulat tungkol sa isang bata. Tong batang to, nakita ko siya, naglalakad siya, may inspirasyon ka, nakita mo siya, naglalakad siya, wala siyang kaibigan. Pero ano ang layunin mo? Kaya mo siya gagawa ng kwento o yung base doon sa batang nakita mong walang kaibigan. Gusto mo ba na gumawa ng kwento tungkol sa batang yon para ma-entertain yung ibang mga tao? Maging story to na maaaring maging masaya sila? O ito ba'y kwento na gusto mong mag-inform tungkol sa may mga bata na maaaring hindi naman sila talaga pala socialize? So maybe you want to talk about there might be children who do not socialize, and that's okay. Maybe do you want to just talk about the experiences of that particular child? Or do you want to educate people about a certain topic towards that particular child? I'll give an example. Some of our stories that we have done po in Net 25 and even in Net 25 in our children's shows are usually it's more to educate. We don't usually have entertainment stories. We have it's a story. Secondarily we want to entertain, but our primary reason for writing the story is for us to educate children. Like for example, we wrote a story about overcoming grief and overcoming death. So we have a story that is central on the fact that children goes through the stages of grief. If you're a psychology major, you would know the 5 stages of grief would be denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Basically, the acceptance part, the 5 stages of grief are not really just stages. Sometimes it overlaps with one another. We wrote a story that was all about overcoming grief, but in the perspective of a child. And basically, the story was all about something that what do adults or the people around the child can do so that the child can overcome grief? Because the child has no ability to process his or her emotions. They have this, they have, they still lack the ability to understand cognitively what is happening to them. So basically, we talked to a counselor, and then we tried to break down what can we do as adults in order to address grief on a child. So the counselor said, they mentioned to us, first, you have to be able to make sure that the child understands that the person who passed away, the things that should be remembered from that person are the memories or the good memories from that particular person. And that's one. Two, they have to be supported. That's the second thing that adults can do. Give support to the child. So bibigyan mo lang siya ng suporta. Dapat alam mo na nandyan ka para sa kanya. At yung pangatlo na central dun sa kwento ay ano ang dapat hindi mo pipilitin yung bata. Kung hayaan mo na maramdaman niya, hayaan mong malungkot siya, hayaan mo na nagtatanong siya, hayaan mo na hindi niya naiintindihan. Kasi yung mga ganong pagkakataon, yun yung pagkakataon para maturuan mo yung bata. So which in education we call it teachable moments. So those are the things that we had to incorporate in the story. It's called Little Elephant, Why Are You Crying? The storyline po is more on Little Elephant, Why Are You Crying? Every time, so the little elephant's mother passed away, but it was not mentioned in the story. Technically, di siya masyadong binanggit. Malalaman na lang nung makikita na lang yung bata, nag-iisa na lang siya, ay yung little elephant, nag-iisa siya. So basically, kung bata yon nag-iisa siya, tapos dumarating yung sino-sino yung mga adults na nagsasabi sa kanya, why are you crying? And then, isa-isang tinuro kung paano, anong gagawin natin pag matatanda para matulungan yung bata. So that's something that we have done in the past. There were also other stories, but particularly for this story, it was to educate not just children. It was in the perspective of the child, but we wrote it in a way that adults will also benefit from the story. Because technically, the adults will be able to know how to address grief on a child. So, yun yung amin pong isa yun sa example. You may be able to think of some other stories that maybe the story can be discussing about autism. It can be discussing about intellectual disability. It can be discussing about how to get over pandemic. So basically, you have to be clear first of why you are writing a story. And it's not all the time you're writing a story only because you want kids to be happy. There's a particular underlying reason why you're writing this particular story. The next we have, for the purpose of the story, you have to remember, you have to ask yourself, who are you writing for? Are you writing for children? In health po, the definition of children are 17 individuals who are 17 years old and below. Meron pa po bang children dito? Wala na. Lahat kayo 18 above na. So, 17 years old and below. So, sa health, sa developmental studies, yung children, yung high school, children pa rin sila. Pero kapag sumusulat kayo ng kwento, dapat hahatiin nyo yun. Ang pagkakahati po niyan ay ganito. Yung unang parte, yung high school. Iba kasi yung junior high school. Iba yung kanilang development. Cognitively, iba sila. Iba ang social emotional development nila. Iba rin ang topics na interesting para sa kanila. Ang susunod pong hati ay yung susunod, yung pong late elementary. So basically, we have yung kung 17 up until 17, yung grade 11, siguro mga 12 to 17, ibang range sila ng kwento. Ibang range din yung 9 to 12 years old. Ibang range din po yung around 5 to 8 years old. So may late elementary, may early elementary, tapos may preschool. Iba yung kwento kapag sa preschool. Kasi sa kanila, mas simple. So from simple to complex, everything is from simple to complex. Language is simple to complex. Topic is simple to complex. You cannot write overcoming grief, particularly for preschool. They wouldn't understand it. The story that we did was all about, I think we targeted the late elementary. So it's more 9 to 12 years old. We have another story. It's called Popo Nanay. Simple lang yon, parang batang laging sinasabihan siya na, oh, maghugas ka na, oh, ligpitin mo yan, oh, maglinis ka na. Anong sabi, laging sinasagot ng bata? Opo, nanay. Pero gagawin ba niya yun? Hindi niya ginagawa. So yung kwento doon, opo, nanay, yun naman, pwede yun pang late elementary. So kung gusto mo gumawa ng kwento na pang preschool, very, very basic. Usually, the plot, there can be a plot, but it has to be very, very basic. So pagdating po doon sa high school, iba naman yung kanila. You can already discuss about stress, about anxiety, about getting worried. Pwede nang i-discuss yun sa kanila kasi maiintindihan na nila yon cognitively, kaya na nilang i-process yun. So tandaan, kapag sumusulat ka, kailangan alam mo yung target audience mo. Part of the purpose of the story you are writing is the audience that you want to become your readers. The purpose of your story is related to the target audience. Because your purpose has to be very clear. Sa'yo palang klaro. Hindi pwedeng habang sumusulat ka, ay, parang gusto ko nang ibahin yung audience ko. Mahirap gawin yun. Kailangan, simula pa lang, alam mo na kung anong sinusulat mo. So, basically, what we usually say to other people who teach them how to write, you have to be clear. You have to think about the end in mind. Ano yung objective mo ng pagsusulat? Yun ang dapat iniisip mo bago mo pa simulan yung kwento. Sunod po, let's move on to character description. For character description, we already know sino ang main character. Who is the main character? May tinatawag tayong protagonist or main character. Meron din tayong tinatawag antagonist. Yun naman yung villain. Ngayon, dun muna tayo sa protagonist or the main character. We should always consider our target audience. This is something I heard from this is something that I have heard from another seminar. They said if you're writing for the main character should always be slightly older than your main character. If you're writing for early elementary, kung 6 to 9 years old yun, ang kunin mo na character yung 8 to 9 years old. Yung character doon, halimbawa, gusto mo magsulat tungkol kay Ben. Ang gusto mong isulat niya tungkol sa kasipagan. Si Ben, dapat 9 years old siya sa kwento. Kasi yung buong kwento mo, para yon sa mas bata, sa 6 to 8 years old or 6 to 9 years old. Basically, your character should have a particular age, kahit hindi mo siya sabihin dun sa kwento mo, pero dapat klaro yon doon sa kwento mo. Kasi, para alam ng bata kung kanino siya magre-relate. Mas relatable sa kanya yung mas tanda lang sa kanya ng kaunti. Then, you have to consider the family, the background, and interests of the character. Next slide po. How do you name the character? When you're naming the character, usually you have the first name and the last name. The first name usually tells about the family or the background. So, meron naman kasing, usually ngayon, dahil ngayon, uso na kasi yung generation. Are we familiar with the generations? Generation, like Generation X, Generation Millennials, the Millennial Generation, Generation Z, we have the Generation Alpha. High schools nowadays at this age belongs to the Generation Z. Generation Alpha are the junior high school up to the lower elementary. Sila yung edad ngayon ng generation. Siguro sa atin ngayon, most likely, most of you would still be Gen Z, Z, bata niyo pa, ano? So, yun. Tapos merong tas may millennial, may late and millennial, merong early millennial. If you're familiar with how parents name or their children, malalaman niyo kung saang generation mapupunta yung bata o yung tao. Halimbawa, we used to have a generation where everyone has a Maria or a Marie in their names. 'Di ba yung mga tita ninyo, mga Maria, 'di ba? Usually Christina. Maria Cristina o kaya ano, mga Marie, laging may Marie, Ana Marie, laging gano'n. Yun, magkakasama yun, magkakaedad yung generation na yun, eh. May generation na puro may H na yung pangalan, yung laging may extra H. Hindi na naman siguro tito-tita, pero mas matanda lang ng onti sa inyo. Mga may H, meron din kaming generation ng mga estudyante na may mga X and Y ang pangalan nila. Di namin alam paano nakukuha yun ng mga magulang nila. Alam mo may X and Y? XY po, isang buong generation yan. And then, there came the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs would usually have multiple names given by their Gen X parents. Usually, meron silang mga pangalan na tatlong pangalan. Adrian, Samantha, Anne, Maureen. Kasi ang haba. Tapos ang apelido lang niya Go. Sa mahabang pangalan. That belongs to our particular generation also. Usually, the generation of those parents are also the same. So if you're familiar with it, if you notice kung masyado kang particular sa ganun, malalaman mo yung edad ng tao based on their particular names. And that's also the psychology of how we name characters. First name is, we usually say the family or the background. While the last name gives hint on the race, the ethnicity, or the setting of the story or community. So, basically, like when you say, let's say, halimbawa, ang pangalan niya ay, mayroon akong, nabasa lang namin to, hindi namin alam saan namin nakuha, pero sabi namin, yung pangalan nabasa namin, ang pangalan niya ay Jonathan Bonifacio. Jonathan Bonifacio. So, nung nabasa namin yun, mukha siyang character, di ba? Jonathan Bonifacio. Di ba mukha siyang, pag sinabi mong Jonathan Bonifacio, hindi siya masyadong matanda. Pero alam mo, mukha siyang taga-Caloocan. Hindi ko alam bakit. Jonathan Bonifacio, taga-Caloocan, hindi masyadong matanda. Siguro late 20s. Tapos, malamang, kung nagtatrabaho na siya, malamang nagtatrabaho siya sa McDonald's. Meron kayong makuhang background based particularly only on particular names. So let's move on. Let's have a very basic exercise. How do you visualize each one of them? First, Ramon Guerrero. Tapos si Marie Curie Capinpin Ramos. Ray Anatha Marie, or you can say also Marie Sweetie Go. Donald Andrew Ford. Anyone po who would like to tell us? There's really no wrong or right answers po. What do you think would Ramon Guerrero look like? Yes po. Nanonood po. Dahil kay Guerrero. Oo nga, tama. Ano pa po? Matanda na ba? Bata pa? Si Ramon Guerrero, mukhang matanda na. Pwede rin namang matanda na. Ano pa po? Ano pang masasabi natin? Mukha bang mahirap o mayaman? So, oo, tama. Ngayon, si Marie Curie Capinpin Ramos. May asawa na? Matanda na? Bata pa? Baka matanda, mga 40s na siguro. Matalino? Matalino kaya? Anong trabaho? Teacher. O, sino teacher eh? Ano pa? Yun po. Si Ray Anatha Marie Sweetigo, ano siya? Bata pa, Gen Z, high school, or college, early college, ano pa? Siyempre, coming from the last name Go, most likely this is Chinese. Ano pa po? Bata pa yan. Lastly, Donald Andrew Ford. Mukhang artistahin, mukhang mistiso. Mayaman, mukhang techie. Mukhang techie, may sasakyan na maganda, siguro Naka-Ford na madaming gadgets. Opo. Yun. Sa akin, sa isip ko siguro kasi hindi ko kinonsider yung gerero na boksingero. Pero sa isip ko, ito yung naiisip ko. Pareho ba tayo na naiisip? Ay, next slide. Sorry. Next slide po. Yan. Si Ramon Guerrero, medyo mayaman, matanda na mayaman, kung hindi yung boksingero. So, kasi Spanish sounding name Ramon Guerrero. Parang yung mga may pangalan ng mall. So, si Marie, tama kayo, mukhang teacher. Marie Curie Capinpin Ramos, magaling sa science siguro. Si Donald Andrew Ford, artistahin, maraming gadgets, mukhang yuppie. Tapos yan, bata pa, medyo, syempre Chinese looking. Ayan. So basically, ang pangalan, mahalaga kasi yung pangalan sa kwento. Sa kwento ng pambata, hindi naman ganyan kahahaba ang pangalan. Minsan sasabihin lang, si Buknoy, si Buknoy, si, sino pa? Tisoy. Pwede din na yung tulad ng unang panahon, si Gingging, si Ningning. Minsan ang pangalan nila, minsan madalas first name lang or madalas nickname lang ang binibigay sa kanila. But it already gives you a sense of character to that particular child. Malaki na yung magagawa ng pangalan. Halimbawa, yung pangalan ng bata na, halimbawa, meron siyang alagang hayop. Ang alagang hayop niya ay isda. Pinangalan niya ng halimbawa, Nimoy. Parang ginaya doon sa sikat na isda. So pag dinrawing ng bata, yung pag dinrawing yun, madalas kulay orange. Kasi malaki ang nagagawa ng pangalan. Lalo na, ang pangalan kasi ang unang-unang, bakit natin pinag-uusapan to? Kasi yun yung unang-unang tatatak sa bata. Pag yung pangalan ninyo walang dating sa bata, hindi niya babasahin yung kwento ninyo. Kaya next slide po. Let's move on to characters, action, motive, and objective. Next slide po. Basically, fill in the blanks. Ganito lang. Because of the motive, the character does blank or the action to reach the objective. Yan ang tinatawag na natin na story arc. Yung story arc, yun na yung buong storyline ng kwento mo. So, ano kaya ang mangyayari? This can actually be your story arc or storyline. What is the purpose of the main character? What does the main character do? What does the main character want to achieve? Gawa tayo ng example. Next slide po. Example 1. Because of wanting his parents to be proud of him, Ben studies so hard to become the valedictorian. So alam na natin na yung motive niya, gusto niya na yung magulang niya maging proud sa kanya. So si Ben, yun yung character, mag-aaral siyang mabuti. Tapos, ang gusto niya kasi maging valedictorian siya. Pero alam na natin anong conflict nito. Gagawin niya ang lahat para maging valedictorian. Maaaring to the point magkakasakit na siya. Wala na siyang kaibigan. So maaaring yun na yung conflict ng inyong kwento. Sunod pong example. Because his father, the king, is ill, Prince Will travels to a faraway place to find a cure. Ito yung mga basic na mga binabasa natin kwento noong bata pa tayo. Dahil may sakit yung tatay, yung anak niya pupunta sa ibang lugar para makahanap ng gamot para sa tatay niya. Anong conflict? Maaaring marami siyang obstacles na kailangan pagdaanan. Maaaring marami siyang makakaaway bago siya makarating doon sa gusto niyang mangyari. Yun ang conflict. Ito ang story arc, yun namang conflict, maalalaman natin o maiisip natin based sa story arc natin. Last example, because she wanted to overcome her awkwardness, Lali joins a sports club to become friendly but competitive. So, anong problem ni Lali? Si Lali, awkward siya. Very socially awkward. Pero alam niya na gusto pa rin niyang maging achiever siya. Gusto niya maging successful sa buhay. Kaya, sumali siya sa isang sports club para marami siyang maging kaibigan. Pero ang conflict, syempre, competitive siya at medyo parang bang yung personality niya, hindi niya mapagtugma doon sa crowd na nandoon siya. So that can be your conflict. And it can also be a way for you to educate children on how to overcome awkwardness. Okay, so yun po. Again, pag sinusulat natin si story arc, very simple lang. Because of the motive, character, or who the character you are talking about does a particular action to reach a particular objective. So next. And let's move on to three-part story structure. If you are under the College of Communication and you're undergoing mass communication, you might be familiar with the three-act structure that was originally popularized by Sidney Field. He is an American author on screenwriting books. So doon natin kinuha yung paano nga ba tayo gagawa na ng kwento. So meron ka ng character, may setting ka na, kailan nangyari yung kwento, meron ka ng conflict na naiisip, paano mo isusulat ngayon yung kwento mo? Simulan natin sa beginning. Next slide po, beginning, middle, and ending. Sa beginning, simulan natin sa part 1. Siyempre, magsisimula ka sa hook. Ano yung hook? The hook is the opening sentences. When you write your first page, it has to be already interesting. You have to figure out a hook. Now, one of the things that you have to remember when you're writing a story for children, you also have to take note that in the future, this story will become a storybook. Therefore, if it's a storybook, you have to imagine how the character looks like. So if you will be the illustrator, it would be good if you are able to draw it. But if you're not good at drawing, but you can write, maybe you can partner up with an illustrator who can draw your thoughts. So, sabihin mo, ano bang itsura sabihin natin, si Buknoy. Anong itsura kaya ni Buknoy sa drawing? Ano kayang itsura balikan natin yon, si Lola Marie. Ano kaya itsura ni Lola Marie? O kaya si Lolo Ponciano. Anong itsura niya? Kasi nakakatulong yon kapag sumusulat tayo ng kwento. So next, start again. Think about the hook or the opening sentences that will make your story interesting. There are stories that we have read. The opening line would be just, ah! That's already the first line. Bakit kaya may Anong ginawa ng bata? Sino kaya yon? O kaya pwedeng ang simula lang ng kwento nyo ay, bulagag. Bakit kaya may ganun? Nahulog kaya yung bata? Clumsy kaya yung batang yon? Kasi mula doon pa lang, makakagawa na kayo ng isang buong kwento. Yun pa lang, pag nabasa na ng bata, okay na yun. O kaya yung meron akong dati may paborito kong kwento, ang first page niya tungkol sa bata na nag-i-imagine siya. Tapos ang sabi, usually pag mga imagination ng mga kwento, basis nila yung imagination, kinukwento muna nila yung ina-imagine nila. Yun yung una. Ang unang-unang page ay tungkol lang sa isang bata na nasa ilalim ng dagat. Tapos kinukwento niya yung nakikita niya sa ilalim ng dagat. Yun yung first page. Yung pala, yung batang yun, paglipat mo ng pahina, kinukwento, imagination lang niya yun. So, mula doon, makikita mo na yung bata, pag binasa niya, magiging interesado na siya. Basahin niya na yung buong kwento. So again, the beginning is also the warm-up. Usually, you introduce the characters and the setting in the beginning part of your story. Next, before you transition to beginning, next slide po. Before you transition to the beginning, to the middle part of the story, you need to have an inciting incident. An inciting incident can be the transition from part 1 to part 2 wherein something happens to the character that may cause imbalance and provides an interesting moment for the readers. Halimbawa, yung bata, ang kwento niya ay lagi lang siyang masaya. Lagi siyang masaya, yun yung buong introduction ninyo. Masaya siya, marami siyang kaibigan. Anong inciting incident? Biglang lumipat ng school o lumipat ng bahay yung kaibigan niya. So yun ang inciting incident. Kasi yun yung nagkaroon ng imbalance eh. O kaya siya mismo, siya yung nag-transfer sa ibang bahay. Masayang-masaya siya dito sa kanyang bahay. Yung kapitbahay niya biglang lumipat ng bahay. That's an inciting incident. Kasi may nagbago dun sa character. So, bigla tuloy malala, may isip mo, ano kayang mga nangyari dun sa main character natin? Yeah. Mag-isip ako ng totoong kwento para mas madali ko siyang masabi sa inyo. May isang bata, nakatira siya sa duplex. Yung batang yon tawagin natin siyang Leia. Tawagin natin siyang Leia. Si Leia, nakatira siya sa isang duplex. Duplex yung dalawang bahay. Wala silang kapitbahay. So yun yung ordinaryong nangyayari sa buhay niya. Wala siyang kapitbahay, nalulungkot siya, sana may kaibigan siya. And then, exciting incident. Ang inciting incident, biglang may lipat bahay. Biglang may dumating. Nung nakita niya yung truck, nakakita siya ng isang kahon. Kahon na merong laruan. So anong nangyari sa kanya? Anong inciting incident do'n? Natuwa siya kasi may kalaro siya. So magkakaroon siya ng kalaro na gustong-gusto niyang mangyari. Yun ang inciting incident. Pagdating sa middle part, next slide po. May challenge. The middle part is usually the challenges. This is the conflict. Ito na, nagsisimula na yung conflict. The conflict is now being presented in the story within this part. The problems of the main character are now being presented. Balikan natin si Leia. Si Leia, tuwang-tuwa siya, may kapitbahay na siya. May kalaro na siya. Pero napansin niya, hindi siya pinapansin ng isang bata. Yung bata, si Sarah. Si Sarah, hindi siya pinapansin. Kahit anong papansin ang gawin niya, hindi talaga siya pinapansin. Pupuntahan niya, makikita niya, tas iiwanan siya. Biglang umiiyak yung bata. Si Sarah bigla siyang umiiyak, hindi man lang siya papansinin. Tapos nagtataka siya. Yun ang mga challenge para sa kanya. So anong challenge dun kay Leia? Gusto niyang maging kaibigan yung bata pero hindi siya pinapansin. So, during the middle part, you can already put some incidences or different events that happens that already introduces the challenge of the main character. So, let's move on, transition to the next part. Before you transition to from middle to ending, so this is already the almost giving up moment. Yung main character, ayoko na. Ayoko nang maging kaibigan tong kapitbahay ko. Di naman ako pinapansin eh. So this part may conclude the conflict that is being faced. Kailangan medyo pababa na, 'di ba sa yung pyramid, yung face pyramid, pababa na yung kwento eh. Ano na siya, kailangan na niyang mayroon na siyang point na ayaw na niya, so almost giving up na si Leia. Isip niya, wag na nga lang, ayoko nang maging kaibigan si Sarah. Pero sa pagkakataon ding ito, mayroong na-introduce sa kanyang konsepto. Next slide po. The ending part usually focuses on the realizations for the main character. This is where the character also shows positive traits. The values of the character is also shown in this part. This leads to the story's resolution and the character's achievement. Bago kayo mag-ending, meron muna siyang part na magkakaroon siya ng realization. Balikan natin si Leia. Si Leia, nandun na siya sa point, ayaw niya nang maging kaibigan si Sarah. Pero may nalaman siya. Si Sarah pala ay may autism. In-explain ng ate sa kanya na ay may autism siya. Ang autism kasi ay kondisyon sa brain. At yung tao na may autism, maaaring takot siya sa sobrang tunog, maaaring iba ang pagtanggap niya ng senses niya doon sa kanyang paligid, maaaring hindi siya agad transition sa bagong lugar, hindi siya nakaka-adjust agad sa bagong lugar, at maaaring hindi rin siya magaling makipagkaibigan. So basically, nung natutunan yun ni Leia, doon niya na-realize na dapat pala maging mas pasensyosa pa siya. O kaya, hintayin lang niya na lapitan siya ni Sarah. So anong ending? Dahil natutunan niya yon, ang ending, minsan may dumating na imbitasyon kay Leia, at sabi ng nanay niya, Leia, tara, pupunta tayo kala Sarah. Bakit po? Sabi niya. At may nakita siya na invitation na may koneho. Yun yung konehong nakita niyang laruan, yung drawing ng koneho na laruan ng bata. Tapos kasi sabi ng nanay, tara, pupunta tayo doon kasi kasi birthday niya. So, dun na na-realize, ang ending ng kwento ay, yung si Leia, natuwa siya kasi kahit papaano, nakarating siya dun sa bahay ni Sarah at niregaluhan niya si Leia ng isa pang laruan na kuneho na kagayang-kagaya ng laruan na ni Sarah. Bakit yon? Kasi the purpose of that story is to provide information on autism. And all the characteristics, most of the characteristics of the story of autism was already introduced in the story in the form of Sarah. So basically, the ending part of it was, inabot niya kay Sarah yung laruan at tumingin si Sarah sa kanya. And that ends the whole story. So it can be a cliffhanger, but it's not as cliffhanger like adults would have like a story. Malalaman na ng bata, yun yung part ng bata na magtatanong na siya, naging magkaibigan sila? So kung ikaw ay teacher, ginamit mo tong kwento na to, ang sasabihin mo lang, ano sa palagay mo? Ano kayang naging ending ni Leia at ni Sarah? So maaari na ang ending na po noon ay si Sarah at si Leia ay naging magkaibigan. At si Leia natutunan niya ang tungkol sa autism. So yun po ang atin pong 3-part story. So magkaroon lang tayo ng summary sa beginning. Ito ay ang hook, introduction, warm-up, should be interesting and relatable, ends with inciting incident or something that causes imbalance. Part 2 would be characters, challenges, presentation of conflict, almost giving up moment. The ending may begin the realization of the character, presents the values and positive attitudes of the character that helps him lead to resolution, and presents the ending or character's achievements. So yan po ang kabuuan ng isang kwento. Kung napapansin niyo po, pag binabanggit ko, pag lalo na nire-relate ko siya sa kwentong pambata, lagi lang siyang very clear lang po, merong particular na values kang tinutukoy, meron ka ring particular na character, hindi masyadong maraming komplikasyon. Kasi kapag masyado kayong maraming komplikasyon, maaaring yung batang magbabasa ng kwento ninyo, malilito siya masyado. Hindi tuloy lalabas yung values na gusto nyong ituro. So ganun lamang ang kwento. Ano pa po? Kailangan din nating tandaan, klaro rin ang mga bagay na gusto nating ituro dun sa kwento natin. So kasi iba talaga kapag sa matanda. Sa matanda pwedeng komplikado kasi komplikado naman talaga ang matatanda, 'di ba? Pero ang bata hindi. Ang bata very simple, very payak yung kanilang pag-iisip. Kung ano yung naintindihan nila, isa din sa maaari ding mas pamilyar kayo siguro sa dream sequence. Siguro lumaki kayo na pinapanood nyo sa TV, laging dream sequence ang mga kwento, 'di ba? Halimbawa, ang bata, bigay pa tayo sa panghalimbawa, ang bata ayaw niyang kumakain ng gulay. Tas anong mangyayari? Usually sa dream sequence, maaaring may hahabol sa kanya o magkakasakit siya. So yun yung susunod na mangyayari. Yun ang mga kadalasan na maaaring kinalakihan niyo po sa TV. Pero ngayon, hindi na po namin masyadong ginagamit yung dream sequence kasi minsan, mas nakakalito pa siya sa bata. Kasi merong particular na age ng bata, hindi niya pa alam ano ang difference ng fantasy at reality. At pag sinulatan mo siya ng isang kwento na ang ginamit mo ay dream sequence, baka isipin niya, ay, ganun pala talaga yung mangyayari, no? Na hindi niya naintindihan na iba pala ang resolution doon sa middle part. So, kaya kung kayo'y susulat, I encourage you na gumamit ng iba, hindi dream sequence. Kasi marami na kami nababasa, puro ganun, parang nanaginip siya, hinabol siya ng ganito, tapos saka siya nagbago, tapos yung pala yung ending, higising lang siya. Pero pag natutunan namin sa mga bata, nalilito sila sa ganung kwento. Hindi nila mapaghiwalay ang fantasy at reality, ibig sabihin, hindi rin naging effective yung pagtuturo nyo dun sa kwentong yun. So dun tayo sa last part na po, considerations to think about. Una, age and cognition level, intentions and objectives, language and dialogue, readability level, technical structure, pictures and illustrations. Let's start with age and cognition level. Maaaring naintindihan niyo na to, sa kaulit-ulit ko kanina pa, consider your target audience's age. If ever po, please do remember, maganda po na mag-research po muna kayo. Kung gusto po talaga ninyong magsulat para sa bata, mag-research. Sino ang mga pwede niyong tanungin? Una, Yung magulang. Yung magulang, tanong kayo sa kanila, ano pong mga issues ng anak ninyo lagi niyong na-e-encounter? Pwede kasing manggaling sa kanila ang topic. Sunod, teachers. Yung teachers pwedeng magbigay sa inyo ng information, "Ay, meron akong batang makulit, ayaw talaga umupo." Anong gagawin natin? Baka pwedeng gawa ng kwento. Ano pa po, ang teachers din pwedeng magbigay sa inyo ng overview, ano yung characteristics ng bata sa particular na edad. Puwedeng psychologists, kung meron kayong kakilala. Usually ang ginagamit po namin, 'pag uma-attend kami ng mga seminar, kung familiar po kayo kay John Piaget's Theory of Cognitive Development, yan, puwede niyo siyang gamitin bilang basihan ng ano ang skills na inaasahan natin sa bawat bata in terms of cognitive development. So tandaan, yang target audience age ay mahalaga. Yan ang magse-set ng pagsusulat natin ng kwento. Research how this age range take in information. There's also what we call as information processing theory. Kaya hindi masyadong mahahaba ang salita at ang mga sentences sa isang children's story. Kasi yung bata, usually, ang natatandaan lang niyan ay 6 to 7 digits. 6 to 7 digits, ibig sabihin nun, yung words o yung mahalagang words sa isang sentence. So 6 to 7, tanggalin nyo na yung mga article kasi hindi na napapansin ng utak natin yan eh. Ang napapansin talaga ng utak natin, yung mga main words. Halimbawa, may nag-utos sa inyo, inutusan ka ng nanay mo. Bakit ang nanay mo, lagi lang ang utos ay ganito lang? Kunin mo nga yung bag ko na nasa kwarto, nasa ibabaw ng lamesa. Ano yung importanteng words doon? Na digits. Digits. Kunin, bag, kwarto, lamesa. So, 4. Pero yung mga bata, yan maintindihan nila. Pero pag dinagdagan niya ng nanay na, kunin mo nga yung pulang wallet ko nandun sa loob ng bag na nasa ibabaw ng lamesa sa kwarto ng ate mo. Pupunta siya, ano lang natandaan niya? Ang natandaan lang niya yung kwarto ng ate niya. Pagdating niya sa kwarto ng ate niya, nakaganon lang siya. Babalik siya sa nanay niya, "Nay, ano nga po ulit yun?" Kasi maaaring masyado ng maraming nasabi, wala nang masyado na take in na information yung bata. Ganon din po tayo pag sumusulat tayo ng kwento. Pag sumusulat tayo ng kwento, tandaan natin kung batang-bata, maikli lang. Halimbawa, ano lang, kadalasan sa preschool hanggang grade 1, ang ginagawa lang nating kwento, yung very simple. Sam has a cat. The cat is Sam has a cat. Sam has a hat. The hat is on the cat. Di ba ganun lang ang kwento natin? Minsan, tumataas ng tumataas hanggang tumataas din ang edad ng bata. So kayo rin po ang bahala. Meron din mga kwento na minsan pinapaliwanag lang natin eh. Mayroon akong kaibigan. Ang kaibigan ko ay maganda. So paulit-ulit lang yung mga sentences. Minsan mas maganda rin repetitive ang sentence sa mas batang edad. You may need to talk to children to understand how they comprehend ideas. That's one more thing also. Kausapin ang bata. Minsan pag nagkukwento sila, pero ngayon kasi, yung isa sa characteristics daw ng Generation Alpha, dahil open sila to information. Kasi very, very open to technology. Ngayon, kung papansin nyo, napakagaling magkwento. Kasi ang dami nilang information eh. Pero ang wala sa kanila madalas ay organization. Hirap na hirap yung utak nilang i-organize lahat ng gusto nilang sabihin. Sasabihin nila sa inyo lahat ng information na nandun sa utak nila. Pero pag kinuwento mo, ano nga ulit? Hindi na nila maalala ano yung gist ng kwento nila. So, basically, what you can do is, your stories can also help them to organize their thoughts in a way that your sentences are organized in that particular way. Kaya tayo nagtuturo ng structure. Kasi kayo din mismo, kung gusto nyo for education purposes ang inyong kwento, dapat should also be very educational ang approach. So it can be entertaining, but it can also be educational. So these are actually the underlying messages of your stories. It does not only tell them certain information or narrate experiences. It also helps them understand some other things. Like they can Even how you phrase something, how you make sentences can be something that can already teach children. Kasi kapag ginagamit nila yon, halimbawa, ang mga kwento, kadalasan, nilalagyan natin ng values. Halimbawa, yung nanay may ginawa para sa bata, anong sasabihin ng bata sa nanay? May ginawa siya, may binigay siya, o ito, para sa iyo yan. Anong sagot lagi ng bata? Salamat po Kasali. Salamat po, thank you po. It's an underlying message na nagtuturo tayo ng values. Hindi lang siya kailangan mo kasing isulat. Kailangan mo talagang isulat para may matutunan ng bata. Halimbawa, may batang nag-aaway, may dalawa, yung magkapatid nag-aaway. Tapos anong approach ng nanay? Kinausap sila pareho. So, kinausap silang pareho. So, ibig sabihin, anong underlying message doon? Na yung nanay, nakikinig siya sa pareho niyang anak. So, ang bata ay pinapakinggan. Maaaring hindi siya intentional niyong ginagawa, pero underlying messages siya ng story ninyo. Kasama siya sa age and cognition level. Next po. Purpose, intentions, and objectives. Again, I will reiterate this one more time. You should be clear on the reasons why you are writing such a story. You should also be able to think with the end in mind. The values and learning should be clear at the end of the story. Tapusin natin yung kwento, huwag niyo masyadong gawing komplikado. Dapat din, huwag din natin masyado siyang parang abangan ang susunod na kabanata. Hindi po gano'n ang kwento sa bata. Kadalasan po, kung chapter book yan, okay. Pero kahit na chapter book, natatapos yun. Meron siyang certain conclusion. Pansinin niyo po yung mahahabang children, yung books for children, kahit novela na yan or chapter book yan, natatapos siya. Hindi siya susunod pang libro dun po mag-explain. Mayroong mga na-explain sa susunod na chapter or sa susunod na series. Pero kadalasan tapos yung kwento sa isang libro. Next po, the values po again should be clear. Kung hindi natin alam kung ano talaga yung values na pwede nating gawin, itanong natin sa mga nakakaalam kung paano dapat ituro. Next, language and dialogue is next. Use simple language, especially if you are writing for the younger age range. Don't use jargons or technical terms. Nung ginawa po namin yung libro tungkol sa autism, nilagay talaga namin yung word na autism. Pero ipinaliwanag siya sa sobrang simpleng paraan. So, para naiintindihan ng bata, kung sino man ang gagamit nun, bata, matanda, o teacher ang gagamit nun, hindi kailangan nila ng masyadong mahabang paliwanag. So, if you are to use technical terms, please do, you have to explain them. If the story is about a difficult concept, you may need to write it within a relatable and familiar context. Halimbawa, gusto niyo gumawa ng kwento tungkol sa anxiety. Ang anxiety naman ay kadalasan alam na ng maraming bata. Minsan nga, pag tinanong mo sila, how are you feeling right now? Sagot lang nila, oh, I'm so stressed. I'm so anxious today. So mga bata, ito ha, totoo to. Minsan sasabihin nila malungkot lang sila. Teacher, I'm so depressed today. Okay. Aren't you just sad today? So, aren't you just sad? No, I'm depressed. So, may mga words alam na nila. Ganun sila eh. I'm so anxious. This is making me so anxious, teacher. Ganun sila. Pero, minsan, kasi yun yung naririnig nila sa internet. Ay, mababasa sa internet, naririnig sa ibang matatanda. Familiar sila sa ganun. Kaya, dapat, lalong-lalo na, kung tayo naman ay may kaalaman at alam nating napag-aralan natin yon, may makakilala tayo na may kaalaman tungkol doon, baka dapat mas lalo tayong gumawa ng kwento tungkol sa mga bagay na iyon. Kasi minsan ng bata, palasak, ginagamit nila, I'm depressed. Hindi naman nila alam talaga ang ibig sabihin ng depressed. Minsan nga, hindi pa nila alam ang spelling ng depressed. So, kailangan tayo mismo gumawa tayo ng kwento na naipapaliwanag yon pero in a relatable and familiar context. Next po, related still to language and dialogue, be careful of the choice of words that you use in the story. Maging maingat po tayo kasi Akala natin maganda yung pagkakasabi natin, yung pala double meaning yung salitang yon. So dapat maging maingat po tayo sa mga salita. It is better not to use words that may be misunderstood by your target audience. Kaya pagkatapos magsulat, anong gagawin po natin? Ipapabasa natin sa target audience natin o sa experts. Para pag sila na ang magbabasa, pwede silang magbigay ng feedback. Ito, palitan mo tong salitang to kasi parang hindi maganda ang ibig sabihin ng salitang ito. Kasi pag naglagay tayo ng mga salita, tayo bilang matanda, alam natin yung ibig sabihin ng konteksto ng salitang yon. Pero ang bata hindi niya alam yon. O kaya, baka mayroong matanda, nakita niya, binasa, ngumiti yung matanda. Tapos siyempre magkakaroon ng curiosity yung bata. Bakit sila natatawa? Tungkol lang naman yan sa ganitong salita. Di lalo pang hindi napabuti yung intention natin para doon sa pagsusulat natin ng kwento. This may include words that may have double meaning or may be misconstrued depending on context. Next po, this is an important term, readability level. Readability level refers to how easy a piece of text is to be read and to read and understand. Age and or grade level is considered in finding out the readability level. You may use applications as in website applications, to analyze the readability level of your story. Usually po, merong mga parang sa grammar, ilalagay nyo lang yung sample text nyo doon sa website, tapos susuriin niya yun, lalagay niya ng this text is good for grade 1 students, or magbibigay siya ng range. This text is easy to read. This text is good for grades 4 to 5 students. So kung ang target audience nyo ay grade 3 at binigay niya sa inyo is grade 3 to 5, good enough yun. At nakalagay easy to read, maganda yung rating nung ginawa niyong text. Bakit kailangan natin yun? Kasi dalawa po ang reason bakit tayo gumagawa rin ng kwento. Una, hindi lamang po para yung mga sinabi na natin kanina. Isa po sa mensahe or ang dapat nating tandaan, bakit tayo gumagawa ng kwento, is gusto kasi natin matuto ang bata ng mga values na mahalaga, lalo na sa atin. Kasi may mga kwento na maaring gusto nating gumawa ng kwento. Halimbawa, sabihin natin tungkol sa pagiging matapat. Maraming kwento sa labas na tungkol sa pagiging matapat. Pero maaaring yung context ng pagkakasulat nun ay hindi ang context na dapat. Yung dito sa paaralan, sa New Era po, sa integrated school, we're trying our best to come up with our own stories. Why? Because we want it to be relatable to our own culture of New Era. Because even if they're reading already these things outside the university, the context or the environment surrounding that story might be different. So might as well, gumamit tayo ng sarili nating gamit. Sarili natin na lalo na paano ito tinuturo sa atin mula sa pamamahala. So yun ang ating pong layunin. Bakit natin ito ginagawa? Pwede namang bumasa na lang sa gumamit ng ibang kwento. May mga sikat pa. Pero sa atin kasi, yung tinuturo niya, baka pareho lang namang values, pero iba ang konteksto. So mas maaari, kaya ginagawa natin na tayo mismo, yung context ng atin pong ginagawa ng kwento, something that's already relatable to us. So again, try to understand readability level. You can read about this. There's a lot of articles in the internet about readability level. But the easiest way you can understand this is to just put your text in a website application, and the website application can analyze it, and it will give you a certain idea on how or kung kanino appropriate yung sinulat po ninyo. Sunod po ay technical structure. Sentence structure should be according to the age of your target audience. Use shorter sentences if you're writing for younger children. Grammar is still very important. Spelling is important. Hindi ibig sabihin lahat na ng tao ay mali ang spelling, mali ang sentence construction, gagawin na natin. Gumagawa nga tayo ng kwento eh. So dapat tama din ang grammar natin. Para po tandaan natin, yung aking pong mga estudyante, tinuturuan ko lang sila anong dapat nilang tandaan. CHIPS. CHIPSS. CHIPS. C, capitalization. H, handwriting, kasi nagsusulat sila. I, indention. P, punctuation. S, spelling. S, spacing. Kapag sumusulat tayo, yun ang kailangan nating tandaan. Ulit, CHIPS. Capitalization, handwriting, indention, punctuation, spelling, spacing. Tandaan natin yun. Kasi marami nang nakakalimot. Lalo na po ang spelling ay nakakalimutan. Nakakalimutan din po yung ano pang mga ibang mga rules of grammar. So yun po, sentence structure, grammar is still very important, especially if you are making a story for academic and educational purpose. Next, this is I think my last slide po. Next po, pictures and illustrations. Visualizing what you are writing is important. The imagery is important. If you don't know how to draw, but you can imagine it, maybe you can just still make a draft po. If you don't have a person who can draw for you, magawa pa rin tayo ng mga doodles. Try to doodle it so that you would understand how this character looks like. What will the character do in a certain context? Try to imagine the character, the setting, and how the story evolves. Think like a child. As we have mentioned a while ago during the start of our lecture, think like a child and not like an adult. If you can draw it and make a storyboard, go ahead. This will help you in making your imagery clear. There's such a thing as we call as visualizing and verbalizing. That's actually a program that we use for reading comprehension. We know that the child understands the text or what he or she has read if the child is able to visualize what he or she is seeing in his head. So kailangan nakikita talaga natin nakikita natin yung itsura ng sentence na yon. Hindi lang yung nabasa. Kailangan naiisip mo pag sinabi natin the old lady who lives in the red house. Diba naiisip natin, this is how the old lady looks like, or this is how the red house looks like. If you are able to imagine it, and if the child who is reading your story is able to imagine it as well, you're already successful in writing that particular story. And lastly po, tandaan natin po, write what sparks interest in you. Write about something that your mind will be filled with amazement. Write something that will make your heart happy. So reading and writing will always make us happier. So please do write something that for you first will make you happy. Because if you feel happy while writing it, I think the children who will be reading it will also be happy. And with that po, thank you everyone po. Maraming pong salamat.